Yes, please, Viktoras, continue with what you were saying as we were...
Okay, Tony Robbins has, and I participated not only with Tony Robbins and many others, doing fire walking, fire dancing on charcoals, 1400 degrees Fahrenheit, not an ouch, not a burn, not a sad face, no one got toasted. Yet it's all consciousness, it's all consciousness, including also even during the Hiroshima issue, when it happened in Hiroshima, there was Franciscan monastery, and within the zone of destruction, and they had no radiation, radar burns, it was consciousness. They did not accept the reality of what was occurring. Do you accept the reality? I poured one time boiling water on my hand by accident. I didn't accept, in a flash of a second, I had to make a choice, and I made the choice that this is not real, it's not happening, and no burns, nothing like that. You can make such phenomenal lifestyle choices, and that included when Union Carbide in, I believe, 85 in India, their factory exploded, was spreading like crazy with all the fumes and gases. Some people ran into their home and did fire ceremonies because they believe it's the belief system, and they were not affected. Others were dying from these chemicals. They were not affected. It's your consciousness that has the most dramatic effect, namely your belief system. So that can have a dramatic influence on the overall outcome. If we have 10% critical mass on planet Earth developing higher level consciousness, we will have the rest of the 90% of survivalists coming into alliance, and coherent force field will overrule, where we will have the world of sustainability, peace, and the new future that will evolve, not based on the competition for resources and food growing regions. No, because these things are not hard to take care of. No, instead, the whole future will reside in expressing our unified mission, and I mean it, unified mission. We are meant to be at one this particular period of time in history, and we're all important, and it's us to contribute and come from our own area of expertise and specialty and evolutionary consciousness that we came here to be part of the clockwork, to make the clock tick in such a fashion that will give you timeless bliss.
You know, Reverend Viktoras, you also say it's a blueprint, this particular book, for creating the critical mass of conscious people necessary for the planetary transformation into a peaceful, loving, humanistic world. And as an energy therapist, I tell all my clients who are having their auras and chakras reconstructed that we're preparing ourselves to transcend from power struggle of the third chakra into the heart chakra, and essentially going through the eye of the needle, if you will. Since the vibrations of the higher chakras are less dense, do you feel that the plant-based diet at this point in our evolution is more necessary than ever before because of the heightened and lighter energy it's necessary in our overall diet and system?
Well, that comes back to, again, the teachings in Ayurvedic medicine and also the Bhagavad Gita. So you had basically the lower energy for just to stay alive to 35, 40 years of age, type of a dietary, which is basically the cooked and overcooked foods. Then you have the next Rajasic dietary approach, which is more like energy. It's sad to say, it's the Rajasic energy of both animal protein, chaotic, not very driven by the consciousness. Sattvic diet, which was the third level, that's the one of the eating the food as created by the cosmos in a perfect form of the interreaction between the sun energetics and the earth energetics, and giving you a harvest of greens, a harvest of fruit that is perfectly ripened from the tree instead of picked away prematurely, and it acidifies your own body. So this is the sattvic diet. It's the diet of spirituality, the diet of consciousness. And the diet next with that was what was found in the Essenes, in basically the fourth state, was basically biogenic, which is basically food that has the highest level of aliveness, so that your celery might be considered mature plant, but if you took the celery seeds and you germinated and you ate the celery sprout, you are in a process of regenerating your body with a high vibration of the growth that is hormonal, enzymatically, and providing the basic essential nutrients for the whole body, rejuvenating into a younger, more vital, more alkaline, more cosmic profile, so that now you can, by merely focusing on the chakras, you can bring them to life through the process of meditation and stillness. So you can take that power chakra and not only energize it through like qigong exercises. For instance, if you imagine around your belly button you have a clock and you spin it in a clockwise direction, you create such an increase of power on your system. Matter of fact, metabolism increases because this is dealing with this energetic, and you'll end up losing. Just do this 50 times around your belly button, stroke a few times, and repeat it one more time, and do it twice a day. According to Qigong Master, you'll lose about 2 pounds of fat out of your system every week. That's an easy thing to do. And when you start spinning your heart chakra, or working with special crystals, and also through meditative focus, now you increase the unconditional love, the cornucopia, the experience of divine love, going beyond your personal needs and finding yourself at one with all and feeling the joy of group love. And then the next, if you bring that energy still further up into the throat chakra, the blue area, this is where the energetics of mental concentration, creativity, focus, expansion takes place. So you dive into that arena and it's like walking into intergalactic art museum and a symphony hall that is blaring, blasting with the most exotic, ecstatic life experience. You'd think you'd be able to take it down, but you know, the script only could be coded by guys like Mozart, you know, Wagner. But you might not be able to take it, but my God, you visit those spaces, and then if you are fortunate enough to take it to the crown chakra, then now you're entering into the eternal, timeless world of total knowledge, total wisdom, God empowerment. I didn't know about nutrition, but in the days of college and high school, I already was experimenting with, by purely accidental, moving into what is called meditation later on to be discovered. But I went from an academically challenged individual to becoming one of the top students, winning 3 awards in high school, whereas I was held back 3 years in grammar school because of my intellectual disadvantages. And it all came down to discovering that I do not eat anymore during exam times because I didn't know why, but I found my brain much clearer. And the reason for why is I was eating all this greasy food, rich foods, like most people eat, fast foods, and it causes red blood cells to clump together. They're not delivering oxygen. It was an acid-oriented diet. As a result, I had no electrovoltage, but by just drinking water, I found myself now, my blood was circulating, oxygen was delivering to the brain, and then staying away from other belief systems. I believed in my superior knowledge. I believed that everything is possible. I believed that whole message in the Bible, it says, knock and it shall be answered. Ask and it shall be given. In other words, everything is accessible. It all depends on level of belief. So I entered into places of stillness and mindlessness where I had no negativity, only positivity. It might take 2-3 days to get there, but I was downloading questions. I'd read the questions and do automatic writing, write out, you know, 3-4 page dissertations in theoretical mathematics or psychology or English literature, just totally perfect forms. And the teachers couldn't figure out, how the heck was this guy doing? He was cheating. Of course, I use cosmic cheating. And this is accessible to all. You know, to learn how to have access to total knowledge. This is available to all. But meditation is the entry, and clean blood is the pathway of building that organism that enables you to access that cosmic information. As long as you're filled with sludge, dirt, filth, you know, grease, enzymeless nutrition, your brain is that of not even a human consciousness being. You are totally tamasic, not aware. And anybody can do it. It doesn't matter. I've done it. I've been at the base, and I've been at the top, and I've been even a bulimic for 10 years. I managed to even get through that. I've been there where you have been, but you got to just keep on believing yourself, keep on trying, keep on learning what is the best, and keep forgiving yourself and move on. Just keep trying. The next day will be a better day, and it will be.
And again, as we're here in September of 2012, marching towards the December 21st, 2012 day, talking about moving up to the heart chakra, the fourth dimension. You know, eating less, eating more of a plant-based diet, just reiterating what you're saying, will help to, you know, shift our consciousness up to the lighter levels. I'd like to go a step further into Kundalini, and you also say that what excites you in the book goes on to clarify the live food concept and how the processing of food affects consciousness, energy, and spiritual aspiration. Can you share briefly about your personal experiences of Kundalini after a long live food fasting regimen? And is this also outlined in your book, The Lover's Diet?
Yes, quite a bit.
Okay.
Though there's presently not too many copies in circulation, survival is much more prevalent. But primarily, we all want to be, it's called Lover's Diet, and basically all the great teachers say that to be a great lover is to love yourself and to love others as yourself. Most people do not love themselves. It's shown by their behavior, by their smells, by the levels of joy that they hold, because if you are loving yourself, you will be quite happy. Loving yourself means taking your body out for a walk, means loving yourself means hydrating your body. It means feeding it foods that give it vitality instead of weakness and feeling wasted, instead of putting toxic alcohol and other poisons, whether it's caffeine or drugs, into your system. This is all not loving your body. The whole idea is get in to become your body lovers. Then you'll have a strong tantric presence. One of my good friends, Bennett Luchon, a tantric priest for over 70 years, has lived on a very unusual diet, but it was on sprouted grains and grasses. And the guy had 2 PhDs, one in biochemistry, another one in comparative religion, and he was also a choreographer and a tantric priest, which means he worked with the Kundalini energy in intimate relationships as well as creating intimacy with yourself. You don't need to have another being in order to experience cosmic orgasm. You can experience the most divine bliss that blows your socks and circuits instead of having a temporary, that endomorphin, that internal blast of juicy, delicious orgasm that stops at the solar plexus. But if you learn how to practice tantric sexuality, where you hold onto your semen instead of ejaculating, as soon as you ejaculate, you lost the power. This is where the Kundalini energy, the chakra energy, is created and stored, and through consciousness guiding, you can take that electrical force, the ionic state of prana, and move it through your chakra system. And when you bring it to your heart, it's all the things that I talked about, or to your throat. And when you do it with your beloved, whether it's intimate encounter and intercourse, or it is through yogic postures, you will be able to, through the attributes of your mind control, take it through all the levels. And the hours and hours of joyful experience and rejuvenation that you will feel out of that encounter is phenomenal. So look into some different attitudes toward what we consider sexuality. Sexuality is a beautiful place to go to, and it can be for sensuality, it can be for procreation or transformation. And it can be all of them, but it's a matter of seeing where you're going. So learn how to play with this chakra energy, and you'll be able to control it much more so on a vegan diet than you can on the overall short-lived lust of an animal-based protein type of a dietary orientation. At 75, I have more intimate moments, more Kundalini energy than I did when I was eating at McDonald's. And I used to eat 3 times a day when I was in college, when that was just becoming prevalent. But when I started experiencing with vegan diet, the Kundalini energy, the intimacies that went on, it led to the movement of this energetic field through your system and the experiences of visual, auditory, as well as fragrance. It is beyond description. Either you've been there, it's like eating an apple versus talking about an apple. You want to eat the apple to know the apple. That's likewise about chakra energy. You do the practice, you do basically your breathing exercises, your locks, your empowerment of your system, but all this work is only centering on one thing: bringing you into complete union of integration. That's what yoga is all about. It enables you to now not only transcend the limitations of your own body, but you start extending yourself through your own example and interaction with the world and heightening the vibrational levels. And we are at a time in history when, you know, it's now, you're talking about the December 2012. According to a very popular DVD called The 11th Hour Top Scientists, they're talking about the flares that will be emanating out of the sun will be so pronounced because it's already the flares are developing more and more intensity, but it will be peaking in December of 2023. And it will have a destructive effect on our ionosphere. With the ionosphere, disorganized radiation is going to be basking all of us. And you will be impacted in a very negative ways. However, there is a solution according to the work of Army and Navy, and I show it from radiation review studies. Animals that were fed green diet survive lethal dosages, deadly doses of radiation. So if you want to be able to thrive on that kind of energy, go green. If you're not greening yourself, then you're probably going to get radiation damage in your system. This is a transitory cycles. It's nothing new. Our whole cosmos, our solar system goes through cycles and cycles. We see more than just the day to night cycles moving around the sun cycles, but also we go through each one of the zodiac systems. And then also there is continuous evolutionary higher and higher spirals, and there is a lot of repetitive action, such as renewal of planet Earth through the process of earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, earth changes, polar shifts, and there is loss of civilizations, as has happened before. It will happen again. But the thing that you need to live with is that you are an eternal soul, changing vehicles from incarnation to incarnation. There is no death. There should be no fear of death. It should be a celebration. Just like birth is a celebration, death should be a celebration of joyfulness, moving into all kind of wonderful dimensions of the cosmos. You are an eternal being and having a temporary transient experience in a physical body. Don't worry. Be happy.
Good point to come to, Reverend Viktoras, since we're talking about sexuality connected to the second chakra, also creativity and birth and rebirthing ourselves as we will. I'd like to think I'm one of those that with this interview focused on evolution, I'm creating a future for my daughter Angelina, as we are all as parents creating for our sons and daughters and the generations being birthed into the world at this point in time. And I'd love for you to elaborate on how you feel eating a more plant-based diet can be beneficial during pregnancy. Given my personal experience of preeclampsia during the latter part of my pregnancy, I was exposed to some confusing information that pointed to only eating meat as the answer to solving the issue of protein showing up in my urine. They seem to be dissatisfied with my choices of doing plant-based protein or even raw food, smoothies and drinks. Can you clear up what preeclampsia really is and how having a plant-based diet can prevent or solve this potentially life-threatening problem?
Dr. Gabriel Cousins, an MD, he, just like myself, expounded the idea of preliminary cleansing and detoxification on the part of future partners who are going to give birth to a child, so that if you cleanse and detoxify your body, you'll never have any preeclampsia. It's just an attempt on your body to detoxify even further, to eliminate toxins, so the child will be evolving and developing in as clean as environment as possible. Even with these considerations, just remember, the placenta, according to 2007 studies, the placenta of the average American has over 250 chemicals that have nothing to do with life. They are basically poisons in the blood itself. So the child is subject to a tremendous amount of very poor environmental conditions. But as far as the infant's overall development during the birthing stages and nutrition, there's an excellent book, research book that was written by Dr. Bernard called Prenatal Origin of Genius. You can find it on the internet. And Bryce, they studied over 200 geniuses, and what were the characteristics that made all the difference with these individuals. And some of the outstanding things was, first of all, it was a simple plant-based peasant diet, they called it, was conducive. Secondly, it was being away from pollution and environmental toxins. They lived in a countryside. 3, it was the thoughts of the mother, because it is the thoughts of mom that basically influences. Your thoughts become organic compounds and circulate, and it ends up influencing the infant. So if the mother is involved in listening to concerts, playing a violin, hanging out with musicians, you can be guaranteed that infant is going to be a musician. My own sister, my mother was involved in business, and she was very commerce, 12, 16 hours a day. She was 42, I believe, when she gave birth to my sister, who's like 18 years older. Well, before she gave birth, I told my mom, I said, you're going to give birth to a daughter, and she's going to be an accountant. Sure enough, she's a certified public accountant, because my mother was totally dived into that kind of level of consciousness. With me, it was being involved in spirituality, consciousness type of exploration, and I have been directed into that kind of predisposition. So the mother has great influence, and of course it is the overall time of birth. So your thoughts, not sitting in front of a soapbox operas, watching violence, allowing your children to watch violent cartoons. This is a way of degenerating your consciousness and producing inferior offsprings. Diet of least toxemia, maximum amino acid presence profile in your system will be the raw-based amino acid that comes from sprouted seeds, that come from soaks, nuts and seeds. These are your highest protein sources, and they also have all the essential amino acids and also the essential fatty acids to create superior brain development. When you add to it all the chlorophyll-rich greens, you're going to have a fantastic healthy offspring. But cleansing and detoxification is a good direction. It's a good direction for women to basically detox until they have basically a very slight mucodischarge instead of having those bloody hemorrhages they call menstruation. I spend many pages on the subject of menstruation and research, and showing that basically it's the consequence of poor dietary choices. The healthier you are, the less will you have of a menstrual flow, and yet you will be fertile.
All that being said, can you comment on, there's one of the fears I had going into childbirth was the fear of interventions in a hospital environment, and my ideal plan was to obviously have a home birth, but we were to be in a birthing center where there was a water-based birthing a support system, as well as different yoga techniques and so forth. That being said, I had high blood pressure given my age and ended up having to be in a hospital environment. Can you say anything with regards to you know, interventions as far as that's concerned, and
I think,
whether women should focus on doing more natural versus an epidural, and how the drugs might affect the child after the fact?
Well, you want to have a drug-free birthing, that's self-evident, and follow up with a drug-free life instead of having 36 different forms of vaccinations just to get you into the school system. Stay at home, get your church, whether it's Christian Science or some other, or your medical doctor assistants, to get you out of the vaccination program. If you want to see how bad it is, just go to Mercola.com, and he's got all the documentation of the poisoning. So the less...
Well, of course, Dr. Eisenstein, who does is with Home First here, spoke at great length that actually his whole talk is just don't do it, that it's actually blood poisoning.
Of course it is. But you know, you're going to have to find ways to get around it as long as you live in the system, and basically they will do everything possible to have you basically medicated, vaccinated, and be a zombie-like individual, which is what the whole system is pushing on one level, though there is a consciousness level that is polarizing, and people are evolving into ever higher consciousness due to the influence of the internet, which is acting for many of us as an educational tool for sharing a free university concept of holism, so that each individual has access to correct information. So you as a person primarily work with your midwife, with your holistic medical doctors. There's many great tools. I certainly am not the one to expound any particular practices outside of work with your best professionals and with minimal type of intervention, optimizing your nutritional program, your oxidation, and also your breathing, and all of these are key. Remember, oxygen, alkalizing, full spectrum of minerals that you get from utilizing in your diet, seaweed, vegetables, as well as sea salt, and try to get highest quality in these kind of nutritional supports. And then it's the green food and the amino acid profile and the essential fatty acids coming from soaked seeds and nuts and germinated seeds. So you do those kind of things, your body will continuously detox itself, keep on getting cleaner. A good idea is to do like 3 weeks of cleansing, where you're on a very clean dietary with very, you know, no nuts, seeds, or avocados. So you're just eating plant-based diet with maybe some steamed vegetables occasionally, and then and plenty of hydration through fresh vegetable juices and water and herbal teas, and then follow it up by a little more concentrated program where it might involve some manna bread, acine, zako bread, some cooked squashes, and soaked seasoned nuts, avocado. So you'll put your weight back on, and then you go back on a cleansing one, and you keep on repeating this, you know, month after month, and you keep getting healthier and more detoxified, and you'll see every month great improvement in your skin condition, your weight, your consciousness, your energy level, and eventually you'll see your iris go through changes. My iris was black with 4 stress rings. Right now it's blue. They say irises don't change. Yes, they do change. And it has to do, it's a mirror. You can see the science of iridology. Just look up books on that subject. Your iris tells the condition internally of your body. And basically iris change when it's basically, if you're from the basically Caucasian white skin race, then it will become blue-green. And if you are from any other race, it will end up becoming clear, kind of mahogany, light mahogany color without any demarcations, so there won't be a bunch of black spots or color spots throughout your iris. But that's called cleansing and detoxification. It takes time, and basically you go on with your life. You don't concentrate, oh, I'm doing all this. I carried on a very full, rich life. I was busy all the time. The nutrition was just a background. It's not my central role. It's something that you feed, try to eat best possible fashion, and continue to educate yourself and move on. I mean, my work has been extensively involved in many, many different backgrounds. I worked as a college mathematics teacher. I worked as in the computer industry with Harvard, MIT, Smithsonian, and all Apollo projects and all that kind of stuff. And now my interest has become biochemistry, evolution, consciousness, the origin of the source, what life is all about. You just keep on evolving. And food, less food, but highest quality vibrational food. In other words, make sure, emphasize on all your starches, fat, and protein being in a pre-digested form, so that it's easy on the digestive process, and then you have all the micronutrients by way of enzymes, minerals, amino acids, all of it coming in a maximum kind of configuration, so that you are going to be always working as a healthy, happy camper with maximum energy, good athletic performance.
Now, as far as breastfeeding goes, do you feel that that helps an infant up to a certain point, eliminating allergies and such?
Well, allergies stem from, basically, they treat all forms of allergies through enzymatic saturation within 2 months, including gluten intolerance, which is altogether very common. And by eating food that is enzymatically active, namely mother's breast milk, which is in a low protein, pre-digested form with all the essential amino acids, all the nutrients are there. And it's only
regardless of what kind of a diet somebody's following, breast milk is going to...
the child will reject it if it's a toxic diet. My mother was toxic. Within 2 weeks, I wouldn't ingest my mother's breast milk, and she stopped feeding because she was emotionally very toxic, and she was in a difficult emotional state. So I stopped breastfeeding, and you see children rejecting mother's breast milk, indication of toxemia. So children are intuitively still knowledgeable. That's why when children are being fed all that beech nut and all cooked food and stuff like that, what do? They close their mouth. You have the most difficult time feeding. And then when you force...
It's pasteurized, correct? All the beech nut stuff?
It's dead. It's cooked. It's otherwise it wouldn't sit on shelves. And primarily, and then if you force it down, it vomits up, it throws up, because it's still got the vital force of stomach to reject what is poisonous. Then eventually it becomes more and more acidified, doesn't have vitality to execute this muscular response, so now it passes out through the rest of the GI tract, which is still relatively alkaline, so you get diarrhea. Eventually that becomes over-acidified, and now you start getting into slower and more sluggish evacuation, and now you're building up toxemia, you're getting all the skin conditions of childhood diseases. This is all unnatural. These things wouldn't be occurring, and they are not occurring within raw women who had detoxified themselves before in pregnancy and conception. Milk of mother's breast milk, like I said, it's low protein. It's around 1–2% protein, yet it provides all the essential amino acids during the period of most rapid growth and development. You don't need something 20% protein, beef and animals, in order to be able to be healthy. No, you need that kind of protein in order to become unhealthy and sick and move into degenerative diseases.
Well, you bring up an important point, which I'd like to sort of close on, is do you feel raising children on a raw plant-based diet is a good idea with their increased needs for protein?
Well, first of all, they don't have an increased need of protein. You'll be getting the protein during the period of growth and development. You have the highest protein demands being placed as the body is going through rapid growth and development. And the body seems to be doing well on a 2% milk solution of the mother's breast milk. So the best, though, proteins, and I've written about that subject from many contributions and anecdotal stories from many women in my book, Life in the 21st Century, which there is some circulatory copies. Only 10,000 copies were printed of it, and primarily that's survival in the 21st century, and not life in the 21st century. And basically it's all the stories of women who had done extremely well on the raw food program, and I've seen the results. I mean, children, first of all, on a raw food program are born with long earlobes, very large-sized nostrils. These are indications of strong lungs and strong heart, and earlobes are indications of strong liver and kidney. So these are far superior, strong genetic type of children. Whereas you see right now, all the children being born, they have no earlobes. according to Chinese physiognomy, that means that is, they have a sensitive kidney and liver, and unless they're well taken care of nutritionally, they will not be doing very well. They'll be just like the rest of the world population. By the time they're hitting mid-30s, they're suffering already from some chronic incurable disease, which is totally reversible by a lifestyle shift, a shift in consciousness, moving into holism. It's totally up to yourself. Love you.
Survival into the 21st century, way before its time, 35, 40 years ago. And as you said, it takes a full generation for people to transform. So, we're probably at that point where we're ready to receive this more than ever before.
Oh, absolutely.
So you can pick up a copy of this at Karen's Raw on Halsted if you're in Chicago.
And you can go to the website www.survivalinThe21st century.com.
And I would love and appreciate, as we're wrapping up here, if you would simply inscribe a dedication to all future generations, including my daughter, with regards to yeah, exactly.
All right.
And Angelina Harmony, who is a crystal child. So I would appreciate that. I believe that we have a pen here.
Oh, I have a cosmic pen. Here we go.
You have a cosmic pen? Okay.
To Angelina, and written right from my heart, imprinted into the message permanently there, which we can further authenticate it in a future time. So get a copy of this, please. Love you.
Great. Love you, and thank you so much.
Please visit me at Viktoras.org, also ViktorasRetreats.com, where I conduct retreats during the months of January right through July, and we have courses. They're usually 8 days long of the most intensive saturation into detoxification, cleansing, and having fun. That's the most key thing, and being enlightened. Love you.
And thank you so much, and we send Viktoras off to Lithuania now to do a dedication for Ann Wigmore. So we wish you well on your journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We are a great team, and let's use cyberspace to connect with one another and take the next quantum leap and connect purely on our solar operated batteries of soul force energy and connect into oneness, so that we will be moving into that cosmic enlightenment that is part of the harmony we create by working synergistically with one another. And the only way you can enter into this circle is be the best that you can be, and try to go as much as possible raw and live, but all are welcome.
Om Namaste.
Om Namaste.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Tina?